Today, we're unpacking a thread of unrest that's woven into Minnesota's history. Not just the moments that make headlines, but the deeper pressures beneath them. Minnesota isn't a cliche quite up north anymore. It's a stage where old grievances land in modern flashpoints. In the summer of 1967, North Minneapolis exploded along Plymouth Avenue. What started in frustration with racial and economic inequality turned into days of fires, looting, arrests, and a National Guard occupation. It was part of that long, hot summer across America, a vivid early churning of racial revolt in the North. Fast forward to the early 21st century. The world paused on May 25, 2020, when George Floyd was killed here. His death beneath a police officer's knee lit a fuse that spread from Minneapolis-St. Paul to every corner of the globe. Days of protest spilled into nights of rioting and property destruction, leaving hundreds of millions in damage. The most costly period of civil unrest in U.S. history outside of the Los Angeles riots. The unrest didn't stop there. In Brooklyn Center in 2021, the killing of Dante Wright sparked another wave of demonstrations and disorder. 9 days of upheaval that echoed bigger debates about policing, community safety, and justice. And now, in 2026, Minnesota is again in the national conversation, but it's different. This time, the catalyst isn't exclusively local police violence. It's federal immigration enforcement. The fatal shootings of Renee Good and Alex Pretty by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents during an aggressive operation in Minneapolis have prompted massive demonstrations and, in some quarters, talk of general strikes and nationwide action. In this episode, we ask what's changed in Minnesota, what hasn't, and why each flare-up resonates far beyond the state's icy borders. Brace yourself. This is not just another timeline. It is the story of how a few streets in the North Star State reflect America's unsettled soul.
Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Jason.
Hello, everyone.
And unfortunately, we're down a man today.
Yeah, Stoney had something to come up, and he couldn't be with us. So, I mean, we've done this before.
Yeah.
And of course, you and Stoney did this also prior to me coming onto the show. So it's not unheard of that we. Sometimes these things just happen, and
and I feel like it always happens whenever it's on an episode that I would really like to get. I know it's going to get Stoney probably riled up, and I feel like
it may be the reason why he didn't want to be here. You know, who knows, man? But I know Stoney likes to dive into this stuff, more so than I think than I do. So
right,
but yeah, you know, we've both been watching the news.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
It's a lot of stuff going on right now.
I didn't realize until you just finished reading your intro that I forgot that the whole George Floyd situation happened out there.
It's amazing, isn't it? How everything is all connected in one area.
Yeah. I already felt like it was kind of suspicious that a lot of this ICE situation has been going on there and not in, I think, other cities that I've heard of at least, or if they are to a lesser degree. But I didn't think about that until you had mentioned it just now. I was like,
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't aware of it until I kind of started doing a little research on just this topic and just kind of, you know, what's happening in Minnesota and why does it seem that state seems to be the magnet for these type of events. I mean, kind of right now, just to kind of give our listeners an idea of what's going on there, what's prompted all this is, and you know, the Department of Homeland Security deployed roughly 3,000 federal agents to Minneapolis and the Twin Cities. It's the largest such ICE mobilization in U.S. history.
I didn't realize that. Okay. I didn't know it was the biggest one so far.
DHS have claimed tens of thousands of arrests in Minnesota in recent weeks.
Hmm.
And of course, as I mentioned, kind of what's prompted, a lot of this stuff is the shooting of Renee Good and Alex Pretty.
Right.
And that's really just kind of been the flashbang, so to speak. That's really kind of got everybody all riled up. Now,
Right.
We can debate is why were these people in the position they were in to begin with, and a lot of times when you have these discussions when it comes to these topics, it's I'm protesting injustice and or whatever the case may be, and it's all an emotional issue, and
Right.
I find it funny that all this happens right after Nick Shirley exposed all the fraud
Yes.
that was going on
Yes.
in that city, and I have a feeling that probably that played a part into the large response that the federal government came in with immigration to kind of root out all these illegals that are operating and are ripping off the taxpayers of Minnesota and the United States. From what I understand, it seems to be a lot of government money that is being siphoned off for fraudulent things. So, but we've kind of talked about the fraud part. So So we've kind of we're separating that from what's happening now with immigration enforcement and why it seems that it is provoking the reaction that it is, because Trump ran when he got elected on this idea of mass deportations. That was, matter of fact, the latest polls I saw, I still think, from what I've seen, that the vast majority of Americans are in favor of mass deportations.
Yeah.
I think the idea of people dressed in military fatigue and masked up, now we can have that discussion as of why it is that way. I think what you're seeing in Minnesota, and Minnesota has been somewhat of its politics have leaned left for quite some time. You wouldn't think it would, but it has for some time. Its politics has been on the left side of the spectrum, and but what is it about? Why are you having this sort of reaction before the two shootings?
Yeah. Right.
Why were you having all these reactions from these groups that were coming in from out of state?
Yeah.
What's going on there? I think there is I do believe that part of this is planned.
Okay.
I do believe that it's unfortunate that these people have lost their lives.
Yes.
And I don't wish anybody to lose their life. But the other part of me is saying if Renee Good had decided to stay home in Colorado, where she was from, and be with her family, if she's loved them so much, and not go several states over to a state that she's never been to just to go protest and put herself in the middle of a federal law enforcement operation.
Right.
I think maybe, it's like walking down the train track. I know the train is there, but I'm going to walk there anyway.
Right.
Sometimes you get run over, and I think this is kind of what happened with her. Same with Alex Pretty. When it happened, you saw all the he's such a sweet guy, and they're showing all these photos. Well, come to find out, this guy's been kind of radicalized for some time, and some other videos have come out with him kicking federal just cars and breaking taillights and just so. Right. I think there's always two sides to the story. Now, of course, the argument does justify them getting killed. I get that. I really do. And I truly believe that, those agents did not wake up that morning wanting to kill somebody.
Right.
They didn't.
Right.
These things happen in a matter of seconds.
Oh, yeah.
And look, at the end of the day, I'm going to go home. I've got a family to go home to, and I've got to protect myself. And as I said, if these people are not here and are at their houses, or if they're maybe protesting, just holding up a sign, standing on the sidewalk,
Right.
and not doing anything, they're still alive and they're doing their thing.
Exactly.
Right. So, it's the aggressive nature of what I have seen, what they're doing over there, kind of frightens me a little bit about them breaking into hotels and finding where these agents are sleeping. And I mean, I can just think of what would be happening in New Orleans when the police are down there for the Mardi Gras parades, and you have people breaking into hotels and doxing the law enforcement agents. None of this is good.
No.
I
do think it's funny though that like they're doing their own form of inadvertently they're doing their own form of ICE now as well, where like they're setting up checkpoints and making sure that people coming into certain neighborhoods aren't with certain agencies or aren't ICE agents or whatever. And so like it's like, so wait a second, you are putting up your own borders over
who put you in charge?
Yeah. Well, not only that, but it's also like you're doing the very same thing that ICE is doing. We're talking about the country, and ICE is here to deport people that are here illegally, and you're deciding in your community to put up borders, and you want to be, oh, how funny is that? Where you want to be in charge of who is and isn't allowed. That's okay, but not whenever ICE does it.
Yeah,
I just think it's funny.
Well, I mean, I think part of the large response is the inability or the unwillingness of the local and state government to actually lend support.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, that is what I place the blame of those 2 deaths on those local law enforcement agencies. And I'm not saying the law enforcement, it's the political leadership of that state that told their law enforcement to stand down, to not help ICE, to not do, they create the environment to allow these people to do and become what they've become. If they would have cracked down on that and said, look, you ain't going to have none of this getting into agents' faces and all this other stuff. You can protest. You can go to the park.
Yeah.
You can have a permit and do your thing, have your speeches and all that. I have no problem with that. What this is going on, this is something completely different.
Yeah.
And these agents are being doxxed. They just are. And the reason they're covering their faces because these people are snapping their pictures and they're finding where they live.
That's
and
scary.
then they're harassing their families and everything else. And I can tell you, nobody wants that to happen to their family.
No.
They got to protect them at all costs. And if that means I got to have a mask and you may not like it, oh well. As I said, if state and local government would actually be trying to help to mitigate some of this stuff, maybe it wouldn't be so hostile. But I think the feds went in there with such a large force because of what they knew they were going to be dealing with.
It's going to be us versus them.
It's exactly. Yeah. So we need to have an overwhelming show of force.
Yeah.
We need to have people better take care of each other. And, officers are going to back other officers. That's just the way it is. And so I don't know. This is a... and as I said, we've been talking about all this.
Yeah.
Guess what's not being talked about is the fraud.
Oh,
it's gone off the news.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's going off. It's no longer. Yeah, you can't tell me that what was going on was the governor was probably involved in it, the mayor, and they're all complicit.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Complicit in this stuff. So of course they don't want ICE in their community.
Yeah,
it'll mess up the gravy train.
Of course, I see what's happening. At first, I was like, how did you think it was a setup, or how did you think it was all? But I see what you're saying now. Yeah. Look at this. Look at what's in my right hand. So you're not seeing what my left hand's doing.
Exactly. I just, because they've been doing this stuff in other states.
Oh,
they've been going in there and doing that. And guess what? You don't hear anything because state and local government. I know here in Louisiana.
Yeah.
They came in here, and the state and assisted. It kept people away from them. They were allowed to do their job, and guess what? No incidences.
Yep.
Nobody got hurt.
Yep.
Nobody got shot. None of that happened because, a little common sense was applied.
I think also respect. Not only from respect from local law enforcement, but also the people as well. Like, there's a level of, like, at least for me, like, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not one to interfere with police officers or federal agents because that's just not my. I know
it's probably not a good idea to interfere with any sort of law enforcement
That's what I'm
operation.
saying.
And I have to kind of question
for me, like the audacity for me.
someone's thinking on that is
Ugh.
where are they at? So that's what I'm saying. These movements, there's something deeper here going on, and I fully believe I've seen several videos of people going in and they're flat out having recruitment for and paying people. I saw something offering people anywhere from for like experienced people.
Yeah. offering
$2,000 to $4,000 a month just to go
to
coordinate protests.
Nuh-uh.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
What?
Oh yes.
How do you?
I mean,
Okay.
just
yeah. That's wild. Okay, I didn't know you.
If I got no job and all I can do is go and just go organize protests,
go fight the police, apparently.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Man.
I feel like maybe I don't know, maybe I don't know. This is where I feel strange. Where like maybe I came from maybe I was raised in a different household. Maybe I was brought up a different way. But like my place isn't to fight the police officer in the moment. Like that's what the court is for. Which I know even that's I know that's probably rigged in some capacity. But like I'll fight. I'll do what I need to do in that capacity. I'll start to like raise concern and start. But like I'm not gonna. I don't know. That's just where I'm. I respect police officers, and I'm not going to sit here and try and.
Well, as I'm saying, I think there's something to this. I think there's something deeper here. I do believe these are well-funded operations, which means there are outside entities. I know they have found one. There was some Chinese billionaire that's been funding a lot of this stuff.
Really?
To sow unrest in the United States. Yeah, I'm reading an article. I wish I could. You might be able to pull it up.
Okay.
Chinese billionaire funding protest or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I saw it. When I'm reading all these things, I should write this stuff down to cite this stuff later, but I don't because a lot of time I'm just sitting in my bed.
Yeah.
Going over this stuff, going, oh, that's interesting.
That's interesting. I wonder what.
Yeah, I see here that now. Now I know they brought in. They removed the gentleman that was kind of running the show. Bavino, I believe his name is, or I can't think of his name right now, but he's got reassigned to. I think to move on to another area. But they brought in Tom Holman.
Okay.
Which everybody probably recognizes, sees him on TV. He's been in the immigration enforcement business since before the Obama years.
Okay.
Matter of fact, Obama gave him a medal.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
This is what to me is so baffling. Here this guy gets given an award for deporting how many millions of people during the Obama years.
Yep, same person.
And everybody doesn't have a problem with that at all. It's not, you don't hear nothing.
Yeah.
But when Trump does it,
it's
a big issue. So that's what I got to tell you. There's a reason for that.
Yeah. What did you call it whenever people get irate about Trump?
Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, that's what it.
Yeah, I know. I've got my account with Nextdoor has been suspended now for the third time.
Third time?
Yes, because I violated some stupid rule of theirs.
Okay.
So now I think it's suspended till the end of February.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it was nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing inflammatory. It was just simply trying to engage in conversation because some of these people that get on this thing are just completely irrational with some of this stuff. So I'm trying to understand where they're coming from. And it's like, well, how has your life been upended because Trump is president? I mean, I really don't how people have gotten all wrapped up about this stuff. It's like, there have been presidents that I didn't vote for that, life goes on.
Yeah.
I still got my bills to pay. I still got to live.
Wait it out.
And it'll change. I mean, but Some people think this is the end of the world when Trump got elected. It's like
because I think it's that whole their echo chamber makes them believe it. We've talked about this.
I think they're indoctrinated. That's
what I'm saying. They have their like culture of people that are like, again, it's the same thing with ICE. The amount of times I've read forums and read posts about this Minneapolis stuff from people in Minnesota being like, I'm scared that like we're under a regime. We are in like the what is they kept referring it to. They keep referring it to I think something in the times of Hitler.
I mean, the Nazism?
Yeah.
Nazis?
They're talking about something where it's like this. And
they're basically they've associated Trump with the Gestapo.
Gestapo.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's what they keep referring to it like that, like as if like they don't have the right of like free speech and like they can still move freely in their state and like or their country, and it's like
created this fantasy world,
and it makes it they have this idea, like this idealized, like I'm the hero of this story, and it's like.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it is. I mean,
before we move too far on, I did find it says congressional investigators are actively examining allegations that Neville Roy Singham, an American multimillionaire based in Shanghai, with ties to the Chinese Communist Party, is funding, coordinating, and inciting anti-ICE protests and other far left.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
That does not surprise me at all. I do believe China is our biggest enemy.
Yeah,
I truly believe that.
But it's crazy. That's he's an American multimillionaire based in
but
Shanghai.
where is he getting his money from?
That's what I'm saying. But he has ties with the CCP.
There you go. Okay.
But it's crazy that like you as an American, you talk about traitor. Like you're not only are you in a foreign country, but like you're also inciting violence.
Our ancestors would be absolutely horrified of what certain people have sold their soul to these foreign countries and at the expense of their own country. I mean, it's just absolutely, I don't know where these people, how they were raised, what sort of influences got them going. But yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But, as I said, I just, of course, the latest now, Tom Holman came in. I think they're going to try to ratchet it down a little bit.
Right.
I think some sort of deal would be worked out. Well, I think if they can get some local support, I think they're going to draw down 700 are going to come out.
Right. I read that. Yeah.
They said roughly about 2,000 agents remain.
That's wild.
They say local residents can report continued tension in neighborhood schools and businesses. I don't, this is it. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, here he goes. I mean, here's some big takeaways.
Okay,
I mean, they say like first, federal enforcement as a political tool is crossing into territory that historically belonged to state and local law enforcement. As the tension between local control and centralized power has implications for any city that resists federal priorities, whether immigration, public safety, or civil liberties. Second, these events are testing the social contract in communities where trust between residents and law enforcement was already strained by past conflicts, like I mentioned earlier, from the George Floyd era to today's climate. Minnesota isn't an isolated case. It's a lens on the broader fracturing of civic trust in America. And third, the political calculus is shifting. Corporate America is watching, and many major companies are choosing silence over stance to avoid backlash on either side, which is what they should be.
Well, because again,
it should have always been that
you're
way.
Right, but again, like 5 or 6 years ago,
they were all.
Everyone had to have a stance. Everyone had to have a.
They say marking a new area where business influence is bandied around as risk avoidance, not moral leadership.
Yep.
So,
that's interesting. I didn't think about that until you just said that. You're right. There hasn't been like big corporate companies that are like, we stand with this or whatever.
Well, yeah, they all kind of went crazy.
Well, because they did, and of course they kind of backlash.
I think a lot of that was forced.
I'll never forget like the whole. You're right. We talked about that on this show as well. But the whole like situation with like the beer company
yeah,
or whatever.
Budweiser.
Yeah, doing
you
the
know,
whole
the guy girl
yeah.
Dylan Mulvaney or
I
whatever
don't know
his
who
name is.
Right. That was, I remember that whole backlash.
That and
was
Target was advertising or having some
yeah. I know,
men
yeah.
the trans stuff and
Yeah.
it's like, why do you get into all this stuff? I mean, but that tells me there's a force behind that that's making these companies do this.
Yeah.
I just find it hard to believe that the senior management or the board of directors
Let's take this
truly that this is really on their mind.
Right.
They've been making money all along. None of this has been an issue, and all of a sudden, let's interject ourselves in this. So let's do all these things that we. I just think there's something. We've kind of talked about that. There's probably under the table players that are.
Yeah.
I
can hear Stoney now.
Stoney, BlackRock, State Street, all these companies that are own that kind of are backing a lot of these companies. You start saying, "Hey, you need to do this, or else." Then what are you going to do? That's what I'm saying. I think the nature of how all of a sudden this just happened.
Yeah,
all these issues in the last 10 years. None of this ever happened. I remember just I was on the game and was online.
Yeah.
And I was just talking with some other players
Right.
and I was just telling them we just got in this deal. I said, some of these players are younger than I am, and it's like what y'all don't get is none of this used to happen growing up. None of this ever happened.
Yeah,
it just didn't. And I'm like, what has just possessed people that they have to find every little cause under every little rock? It's like my life has no meaning unless I'm doing this. And I think a part of it is, I hate to say it, I just think it's the social media era, and I think the natural progress. I think a lot of people feel lost. I think a lot of these people that are jumping on these protests are probably people that deep down probably hate themselves and or they're just unhappy with their lives. Maybe that's more of an accurate depiction of what's going on. And this is how they feel better.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm contributing to something. I feel like now my life has meaning. I'm fighting the cause, so to speak, because, before that, what was my purpose in this world? And I truly believe there's a psychology behind this sort of stuff. What possesses people to travel multiple states?
Yeah.
To go do these things. I mean, I think
it's so interesting that, again, I remember I still kind of care about things that are happening in my local government and my local community that I'm really worried about. But I feel like also with the advent of social media, we can care more about the things happening farther away from us and care about things that are happening on the other side of the world. We never used to be able to really care about. And so I think it's also that situation too, where it's I feel like, and this is going to sound I guess mean, but it's I feel like there are some situations and causes on the other side of the world you probably should concern yourself with, but at the same time, I think you're neglecting your friends, your family, your community, and what's going on around you, instead of interjecting yourself into another person or another state or context situation. Fix stuff around you, maybe, or I don't know.
Well, that's it. I think it goes back to this idea of my life. My life is I don't feel have a purpose. Yeah. I truly believe, and I've said this before, the energy that people at one time put into religion are now into politics.
Yes.
And that's reflected now on every election that comes up. That if one or the other gets in, it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you get tired? I'm fatigued.
Yeah.
I'm tired of feeling like it's going to be, and unfortunately, I have to the reality is of knowing if the left gets into power, I know exactly what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
I know exactly what that's going to look like. We saw it during COVID.
Yep.
Lockdowns. And as I said, where I live, not so bad. But they had other places that were pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
They were pretty bad. And but just FYI, the operation that the federal government that started this part of the immigration crackdown was Operation Metro Surge was the actual name of it.
In specifically Minneapolis or just like in big cities?
In Minneapolis.
Okay. Interesting.
It was beginning in December of 2025. It said it initially targeted the Twin Cities and later expanded to all Minnesota. They said DHS called it the largest immigration enforcement operation ever carried out.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's big.
Yeah. And I think part of that is because of
the pushback
of what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I
especially because I'm almost certain that like on social media, I've been scrolling through and I've been, it's in my algorithm. It's part of the news. It's hard to get away from. I've been hearing a lot of people be like, they really feel like they're the rebellion, like they're the resistance, and like they are the superheroes of this thing. And they're like, we're going to go fight them. We're going to go fight the ICE agents. We're going to go, we're going to be these heroes. And it's like, anyways, it's just this thing where it's like I've heard people on social media say like, they can't kill all of us. Like that's the mentality of some of them where it's like, they're going to go like,
they're all in.
So once you start hearing that, I'm saying that because if you hear that, even if you, as law enforcement, as security, as whatever, I'm not even in those spaces, but even I would be like, you got to take that at least a little seriously. If people are going to be like, we're going to fight them and attack them and they can't kill all of us, be like, okay, well, we got to crack down. We need people here. We need make it the biggest operation if the whole city's against you.
So this is what happens. And this is, and not to be too partisan about this, because, I'm trying to, when I talk about this, I'm just simply going by what I'm seeing, what the reports are coming out.
Right.
And you got to have to kind of know somewhat of the background of what's going on here.
Of course.
But there is a deeper level of why we're at this point with this thing. Because if it's not this, it would be some other issue.
Right.
Whatever issue what's happened is the left has adopted a victim mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you can claim to be the victim, then you, in essence, have moral authority.
Mm-hmm.
And people have to kind of understand there's a psychology there in what's going on. If I'm the victim, then I can assert the claim that I have a right to fight back. Then basically whatever I do, I have an excuse.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to overcome being oppressed. Mm-hmm. And for all intents and purposes, the people who are considered the oppressors are white men.
Mm.
And it's the white power structure that is so-called, that is this overarching thing over our society. And this is what's causing everybody to be miserable, and why I can't afford this, or why the world is as bad as it is, and why people are starving. There's always, I'm fighting against this invisible thing, this oppressive thing that's over me. And that's really what it comes down. I find it funny that a lot of these DHS agents are not white men.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are Hispanic men.
Yeah.
I could tell you, I mean, simply because they hire people that can definitely speak the language. So, I mean, there's an incentive for these federal agencies that during the hiring process, are you bilingual? Mm-hmm. That's a huge plus.
Of course.
If that's the job you want to have, because, I mean who are you going to be primarily dealing with? You're going to be dealing probably with people who speak Spanish. Mm-hmm. Not always, but most of the time you probably are.
Right. Especially in the states like we're kind of in like the ones closer to Texas, Mexico, the whole area where that's a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, so and I'm gonna tell you, these protests. I mean, now they've spread around the country. I mean, all over. They're even here where we're at. Have absolutely nothing to do with Minnesota, but they're out here. Matter of fact, I think I showed y'all last week a flyer. Or remember the it was off a Reddit post. It was a local Reddit post for this area, for the area that we're in, and it flat out said it tells you it's very organized.
It tells you how not to be tracked.
Exactly. So you can't tell me that's just not people showing up with signs and it's just this is a planned nationwide event. Somewhere they're making money, and like I said. Just like we said, they're investigating these money trails.
Yeah,
and who's funding? Where are they getting the money to do this? And I've always known that this is probably outside forces that are doing it because they want America weak.
Of course.
Because
we've talked about that as well.
Yeah, they want America weak. They don't want America to be able to watch them what they're doing. And
you can't deal with me if you're too busy dealing with you and yourself.
Exactly. So the only way you can, in essence, immobilize the United States is to basically that the country's at war with itself.
And especially over the past 5 or 6 years, as we've seen, one side, I say one side, one portion of the population is very easily riled up now for causes and for things. I feel like so it's like it's like a big red button. It says do not push. Anyone can just go I'm just going to push that button and it's going to radicalize this whole group of people into basically hating the government. It's like that's crazy, but
I mean some of this stuff. I'm reading an article, Reuters. Article here, and there's some they've interviewed some of these people that go out to these protests. Like they have this one here, this person's wearing a no ice sweatshirt and holding a sign demanding the agency leave the city. Says she was the daughter of Russian Jews who immigrated to America seeking safety and a better life. I'm out here because I'm going to fight for the American dream that my parents came here for, Kagan said.
But did they come here legally, or are you admitting that you're?
See, that's where the argument. That's where
the part.
It's nothing to do with legal immigration. I'm all for legal immigration.
That's what I'm saying. But that's the thing. For that situation, are you straight up are you spitting in the face of your parents that fought to get here and came here legally,
and actually tried to assimilate into a culture? And the problem is, I think this is what was happening. What was going on in that state with Somalis they have no desire. There's been no demand for them to try to assimilate, to become Americans. It's to basically come here from Somalia and stay Somalians and bring that culture with you.
Yeah. The thing I'm confused about is especially ICE in Minneapolis. Are ICE agents deporting people that are here legally? That's the part that's confusing me. It'd be one thing. I would also stand up and fight for that if there are legal immigrants here that have their paperwork, that have their visas, and then ICE is going in there and forcibly deporting them just cause. I understand that situation. But the part that gets me right now is if the people are here illegally and they're being deported, that's the normal process. That's how that works. As I've talked about on this show before, I lived in Canada for a while, and as a U.S. citizen, obviously I paid my dues. I made sure I had my paperwork on me, and I did everything that I was supposed to do. And I never had any, serious brushes with law enforcement. But anytime I was around them, I was, respectful towards them. It was like, here's my situation. Here's why I'm here. Here's the paperwork, and they're all like, oh, okay, everything's fine. But if I would have done something dumb and gotten deported, I'm not going to blame the Canadian police officers for that because if I got there without legal means or paperwork and I'm there squatting or whatever you want to consider it, and I get
Right.
kicked out, I'm not going to say I'm being oppressed by the Canadian government, because like, no, that's kind of how that works. You're not, you don't. I didn't belong there. I'm a citizen of America. And again, people keep saying like, oh, they're leaving their circumstances to come and have a better life here. I'm like, precisely. But there's like a process that like you have to...
Exactly. And I don't, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But see, they don't really go there.
Of course.
They lump it all
Yeah.
in as if these people came here legally, and they didn't.
Right.
And I'm not saying that the immigration system, maybe it needs to be looked
Yes.
at, but that's a matter of Congress to change rules
Right.
and to fix the, but the problem is there's been no desire to do that either.
No. But maybe we need to start talking about that then, if that's the case.
Maybe there needs, that to me is where the energy should be, not on the streets doing all that.
Yeah.
Go to your Congress people and demand that the immigration laws get, fix them where the system works better.
Exactly.
You know, but they don't do that. They don't want to do, because they don't really care about that. They only care because it's Trump and him doing
Right.
it.
I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's because of who's in the White House right now, more
Of
so than
course.
the idea. Because as I said, during the Obama years, he was the deporter in chief.
Yeah.
Tom Homan giving
Yeah,
an
yeah.
award
Yeah.
for
Doing a stellar job.
doing a stellar job, and now all of a sudden he's terrible and he's a Nazi. I mean,
Yeah,
it just
exactly.
it's so stupid.
But
But
you can't win for losing. That's what it feels like.
But they said in terms of how this is kind of reverberated throughout the country. They said the acting head of the Minneapolis FBI field office, Gerard Smith, was removed from his post. According to two sources familiar with the move, Smith was reassigned to FBI headquarters in Washington. According to one of the sources, said the Minneapolis field office has been involved in the federal surge, as well as investigations into the Pretty shooting and a church protest that led to charges against former CNN anchor Don Lemon. Now, you remember
I do.
with Don Lemon and that
Yeah.
group coming into a church, which to me scares the hell out of me, that they feel empowered enough now to just barge into a church,
Absolutely
interrupt a religious service,
Yeah.
and to do what they did.
and to stop to stop people from getting to their children.
Yes.
That's the part for me where I was like, that's for me. If there was violence to take place and that was the case, that's where I'm like, I wouldn't blame a person, because I'm not a father, but if I was a father at my church, and I'm sitting here and I have the freedom to, I have the right to bear arms. I have the right for free speech and religion. And there is a bunch of protesters separating me from the safety of my child. Absolutely not.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I've been seeing regarding these churches. I've been seeing a lot of these groups are starting to show up at these churches now and are just berating people coming out of the church, screaming at them and saying this and that. And I worry. I truly worry of where this country is going, that we seem incapable of stopping this.
Yeah.
Because I think about that every day. And I'm a churchgoer.
Right.
And if all of a sudden people just start showing up every Sunday.
Yeah. Again, to circle back around, if they are on the sidewalk, if they have posters, if they're protesting, and it is a truly peaceful environment, and they just want to share, they want their ideology to be heard on the steps of the church. Like, I feel like again, I'm not. That's where I'm like, you can do that, as long as, like, again, it's not like trespassing on a church campus. If you have the ability to do that, that's where I'm like, that would be more okay. But the fact that, like, if they're like berating churchgoers after service and they're trespassing, I don't know. That's where you're right. It just gets to a messy situation where, like,
yeah, I mean,
I would try my best to.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what,
be positive towards them, but
you need to pay attention to that, because I'm gonna tell you, if the other side ever gets in political power, I often wonder what's going to happen there, because I think we've kind of crossed the Rubicon, so to speak, that I think this can get worse.
Yeah.
I really do. And I think people need to prepare for that. If you are a churchgoer and that's something you do, you may have to prepare for a day where you may be confronting people screaming at you as you go into church or you leave church. And how does that affect you? Do you go to church? Is that going to scare you? Are you not going to take your kids there anymore?
Right.
And then what does that do? Who wins? They win.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
You know?
I pray to God that we never get to that day.
I hope not either. And I just like here, I said Aurora, Colorado public schools closed on Friday due to large anticipated teacher and student absences. The Denver suburb saw intense immigration rates last year after Trump claimed it was a war zone overrun by Venezuelan gangs. I remember that.
Yeah.
In Tucson, Arizona, at least 20 schools canceled classes in anticipation of mass absences. At DePaul University in Chicago, protest signs read "Sanctuary Campus" and "Fascists are not welcome here."
I don't like that we just keep throwing around this term fascist. Like we know, like people know what it really means.
They don't know.
They don't know.
They interview these people. I'll see their videos.
I know.
What you know? They're clueless.
They're
getting paid to be there.
You're right. You're right. You're right. I just worry that it's like the boy who cried wolf. Like whenever a real fascist regime comes in, we're not going to, or I don't say we're not going to, but people aren't going to really believe it because I don't know. We're not going to believe it because we've been talking about it. You know?
High school students bearing anti-ICE signs staged a walkout in Long Beach, California. In Brooklyn, a long parade of high school-age protesters marched and chanted anti-ICE obscenities. I'm sure their parents are so proud.
High school kids.
High school kids.
Why? Okay, am I missing something? Why are children so against ICE? Why are people against ICE?
Because they're being told.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. This is why I feel like I'm going crazy. This is why I feel like I don't have all the information. Because like if I'm ignorant to like the real horrors that ICE is doing. Now I will say, I do stand with the ICE agent for the whole Renee Good situation. The whole car incident, I can understand that situation. I don't know the full story of Alex Peretti, but I've heard stories about it, and that one's a little bit more incriminating towards the ICE agents of like kind of attacking him, and maybe that was not so called for. I'm not saying that I am calling for violence in that aspect, but also like they are federal agents. They are, I think a lot of times law enforcement people, and people are interfering. So I understand that there's like the level of like safety and concern that takes place. I know that they're not perfect because it's a bunch of people, but the part that's getting me right now is like, I want to know what these people that are so anti-ICE, what are they hearing? What do they believe? Because that's what I'm curious about right now. Because the only thing I know of is ICE agents come in and they are pretty ruthlessly finding people that are here illegally and deporting them,
right.
Which I'm for. But this is the part that like if I am unaware that ICE is like coming in and deporting people that are legally here, like by a mass margin, like I know again, and I'm saying this because like I'm okay with like a margin of error. You know, maybe they did accidentally deport somebody, or you know, or whatever happens, it takes place that you know they were here. Accidents happen. But the thing is for me is like these people are so anti-ICE that I'm like, why?
Well, it's because it's the newest thing. It's what I'm saying. If it wasn't ICE, then before, as I said, it was George Floyd.
You're right.
You know, I mean, it's the same stuff over and over and over again. If it's not this, the left, they needed a martyr. Well, they got their martyrs now. And they knew by creating this environment that the potential was there for this to happen. That's what I'm saying. They wanted this to happen. They could care less about these two people.
You're right.
They really do. They don't care. They care about the effects of it. That's what they care about.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, we've gone down this road, and until they find out really who's funding these operations, then they'll come to an end. Once the money dries up,
oh yeah,
and then you're out there just because you want to be there,
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
They recently, I say recently, they found out where the funding and all this stuff for the Black Lives Matter movement was going towards, and it was not any of the stuff that was claimed to be. And I think it was all going to a single person or something, or a group of people, which is kind of crazy. That there's a lot of those things. You're right, that I think we'll probably hear about where all the money's coming from or going in the next few years, maybe when it's all over.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
crazy.
we are. I mean, we're just at a point where we're just. I don't know where we go from here. I really don't, because the reality is you had 4 years of literally an open border.
Yes.
And that's why where you're having, and I knew this was going to happen, because they knew once, then you have to try to fix the problem that you created. This is the only way to go about doing it. And sometimes in any sort of law enforcement operations, some things go wrong. They're
Yep.
not always 100%. Mistakes are made. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. It doesn't tell you how many operations have gone very smoothly and have gotten people out. They don't talk about that. They talk about the few little incidences that go wrong to invalidate the whole thing.
Of course.
But,
Right.
that we don't...
We're not privy to all that. Yeah.
They're not going to show that in the main media. The mainstream, if you want to call them mainstream,
Right.
I don't think they're really mainstream anymore. I think they're pretty left wing in their approach and how they cover stuff. I mean, look at Don Lemon. I mean, here's a guy that just, to me, has gone off the deep end. I just. Him sitting there trying to be on the high horse and saying he didn't do anything wrong and he didn't know about these protests. It's like, come on.
Right.
Give me a break. If y'all would have stayed outside the church and done that, okay, that's one thing. But to actually go in there and scream and holler and do all these things that you were doing in there and call that's journalism?
No.
Give me a break.
Absolutely not.
Give me a break. I mean, it's just not. And, as I said, I'm not saying that I don't know really how well you could change the tactics. As long as you've got people that are doxing agents and are looking to harm their families, and you've heard the cries of certain Democrats out there that if we win, we're coming after you. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. It's just how that is. You know what? I believe them.
Yeah.
That's one thing I give the left. They're going to do it.
Oh yeah.
They'll do it in a heartbeat. They're very united in that. On the right, they fiddle faddle and they talk and they bluster and blah 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 blah, and nothing really ever gets done. I can understand how people get aggravated with the right side, but the left, when they get in power, they use it. The right, it's just, they're like sheep in many ways. It's just kind of, well, we'll talk about it. It's just kind of this waffling around. They don't know what to do. There's no direction in them. They're just kind of, trying to protect certain things, but the reality is you're losing the whole thing. I don't know. I think you have to.
And I think that's also probably. I mean, that's I think a majority of why people, or I guess I don't say people, the left hate Trump so much is for that fact of the usage of power, of I'm going to show force. I'm going to use power. I'm going to I don't know. I know we're I think approaching the midterms, if I'm not mistaken. I think this year, and so
this year,
I'm curious as to what. Man, I'm curious as to what the next election, 2 years from now is going to look like, because that's. Man, I don't know.
Statistically, it has always shown that the opposing party.
Or yes.
Wins the midterms, and because they're motivated, they need something to get the voters out. They found their issue now. This is what they're going to rally around, and this is what they're going to rally to get. Now of course you've got right now in Congress you got the SAVE Act that's trying to get through, and you got some Republicans that are have said, well, I'm not supporting it. And, you got to wonder what is the deal about the idea of requiring an ID to vote.
Mm-hmm.
I just, to me, find it very difficult. 'Cause on the surface, I think the latest poll I saw was like 71% of Democrats are in favor of voter ID, but the Democratic leadership is opposed to it, which to me tells me the only reason you're against voter ID is one, to me, it's racist in its implications. It's saying that these, brown and black people somehow can't get an ID. They're so incapable of doing that. They can't get a driver's license, which to me is insulting to begin with. Or two, it makes it harder to cheat.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that seems to be the most obvious.
Yeah.
It just does. It is easier to cheat if all you do is walk in and sign the book and vote like they do in California. They don't even ask you.
That's crazy.
They don't even ask you. Anybody can walk in and sign the book and vote.
That's crazy.
Now, I have to say, I know as long as I have voted, I have always had to produce an ID.
Same.
So I do not understand what is so difficult about that. But I just think when, what's it, Occam's razor?
Yeah.
The most obvious answer is probably correct.
Right.
Yes, I do believe there is a racket going on, and generally that's always going to hurt. That's always going to hurt Democrats. I mean, it just does. Because that you're not just flubbing the numbers there. I mean, you're getting people who shouldn't be voting to vote.
Yeah.
And all it takes.
I'm just curious too that I wonder what's going to happen. I mean, I don't know. I know that there was a big change that people really thought that Kamala Harris was going to get it because of reasons or whatever. I know that she's obviously wasn't the most popular candidate, but I'm curious if because of all those, not the electoral college, but the number of votes that happened for Trump, I really wonder if that would also turn out. Has there been a big shift in the states? That kind of is not so radical. So again, we're just we're hearing all this noise, we're seeing all these things, but in reality, when the voter numbers come in, is it going to be, because we've talked about before, there's no real middle anymore. There's the extreme left, and there's the middle is now being forced right because of the left. So it's this whole, you know what I mean? There's this.
Well, I mean, what it meant to be, what does it mean to be liberal or conservative?
Right,
these terms that we throw around, I would venture to say many of the platforms that I think that Republicans today champion were championed by pretty much the Democratic Party.
Yes.
When I was young.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've never met Democrats back then that in any way would recognize what Democrats are today.
Right.
I've always said Republicans are now what Democrats used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the Democrats have basically become full-blown Marxists. Their party has embraced this you got Zoran Mondani in New York.
Yeah.
He's campaigned as a democratic socialist, which means he's a socialist.
Yeah, right.
Period.
Yeah.
They have embraced that. And I think that wing of their party has completely taken it over.
Yeah.
The AOCs and Bernie Sanders and, promising free this and free that and free this. And, that's great. But, money doesn't just grow on trees. It comes from somewhere else. And it always just leads to more poverty.
Yep.
Because if you're taking from the productive classes, and I'm talking about people who actually create and move the society forward.
Right.
If you de-incentivize those people to want to pursue these sort of endeavors, all that does is make you poor.
Yeah.
It just does.
Mm-hmm.
And the tension has always been is where do you draw the line between social safety nets
Mm-hmm.
and incentivizing and having structures in place where people feel like I'm going to get a return on investment
Yeah.
for doing certain things. That tension, it's a tightrope. You got to maintain. And for the most part, I think we've done a pretty good job in this country. But I do believe that there are social factors out there. There's economic forces out there that a lot of young people are in a position that they feel like they're losing out. They don't have the American dream.
Right.
A lot of kids living in the basement at mom and dad's house.
Right.
Haven't left the house yet. And just the natural thing is to gravitate toward people who could say, "I'm going to give you free stuff." It's only natural,
Right.
for you to feel that way. And so I don't know where we're going to be. As I said, a lot will determine in midterms what will happen in 2028. Be very curious. So when it's either J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio versus, whoever's on the Democratic side that's going to run, a Gavin Newsom or a,
my gosh.
whatever. I mean,
gosh.
some of these people
I
are
hope
just,
not.
I mean, yeah, whatever. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. And we have it's going to be a lot to watch. It'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. And, we're just going to hope for the best. That
I'm really curious. I'm curious to hear about what this is going to be. I'm curious to hear what's going to happen in Minneapolis, like, this whole operation they have going on, what's going to take place. And, I hope there is, less violence. That's what I would always hope for. I hope things kind of get more, calmed down. But I know that it seems like that side of the spectrum is going to keep fighting back, is what it seems like. And that's, I hope that there's a way they can.
I wish you can hope, but
I know.
I think we are where we are right now, and until those kind of networks are broken, I think you're going to be dealing with us right now. I think it's too well organized and too well funded right now, and I mean, we saw it with the Doge cuts, and
you're right.
When Elon Musk was getting in there and really looking at how much money was going to these NGOs, and you saw a lot of people got real defensive real quick, because that's where a lot of this money is being passed through these organizations. So, as I said, we as Americans have to take this country back. And it's not going to be easy, because we didn't get here. It didn't get here overnight. It's been a kind of a slow boil. We're kind of the frog in the water, and it's getting hot now. We realize that what the hell happened. So hope we figure it out.
Yes. Well, if anybody out there wants to let us know what you think, we have comment sections on Spotify and YouTube where you can send your more short-form responses. We also have the email address, getoffendedtogether@gmail.com, where you can send some more long-form responses in case you can't fit in the comment section. Be sure to like and subscribe on any platform that you listen to us on, and share it with people that you may think would like this, or even if they may not like it. We would still appreciate the share. But until next week, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone, and God bless.